Vail. This is vailychat.
Do re mi fa sol la ti do.
Uh-oh.
Hey, it's good. Vocal cords are warm. Which is, it's good because today we are talking about a community where a broken toilet can literally threaten their very survival.
Right.
And where, a traffic jam on the complete other side of the planet directly dictates whether they can afford, like, a gallon of milk.
It's a really profound tightrope walk, honestly. Welcome to the deep dive.
Yeah, welcome in. Today is Thursday, May 7th, 2026. And the sources we have spread out on the table today, they are, well, it's basically an entire ecosystem of documents straight out of the Eagle River Valley in Colorado.
Yeah, we're looking at a huge combination of regional operational assessments, municipal budgets, and local news bulletins, mostly from Eagle County and the town of Vail.
Right. And our mission today is to explore this really fascinating paradox of modern mountain living. We are going straight in to see how a relatively remote community navigates these massive macro-level crises.
We're talking global fuel shortages, right?
And historic, record-breaking droughts. Exactly. And how they handle all of that while somehow maintaining their hyper-local infrastructure and, like, an incredibly vibrant community spirit.
It's a lot to balance.
Okay, let's unpack this because I want to start with the literal physical barriers to entry.
Good place to start.
Because if you really want to understand a mountain town's economy, you have to understand how people actually get there. And right now, just driving into the Eagle River Valley is turning into this sort of logistical extreme sport.
It really is.
So let's look at the ground game first. If you are listening right now and planning a trip up Interstate 70, you really need to mentally prepare for the bottleneck at Floyd Hill.
Oh, absolutely. The transit bulletins are outlining some major closures there.
What are the exact dates on that?
So we are looking at westbound I-70 between US 6, which is exit 244, and eastern Idaho Springs at exit 241.
Wow.
Starting Sunday, May 10th, and running through Friday, May 15th, there will be full overnight closures.
Full closure.
Yeah, from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. And, mountain weather is notoriously fickle, so they actually have contingency dates marked for May 18th through the 20th, just in case weather hits.
Right. And reading through the engineering specs here, it says crews are removing temporary support structures and setting girders for a new segmental bridge.
Yeah.
Now, look, I'm not a civil engineer. What exactly is a segmental bridge? And why does building one cause such an absolute nightmare for traffic?
Well, it's an incredible piece of engineering, actually. Think of a segmental bridge like a giant set of precast concrete Lego blocks.
Okay, Legos, I can picture that.
Right. Because in a really tight mountain pass like Floyd Hill, you just don't have the space to build a massive traditional bridge from the ground up while all that traffic is flowing underneath.
That makes sense.
So what they do is they manufacture these massive concrete segments off-site, bring them in, and basically stitch them together in midair to form the bridge deck.
Wait, so you are literally assembling a massive concrete puzzle suspended above a live transit corridor. That's like trying to rebuild an airplane while it's flying in turbulence.
That's a great analogy, and exactly why it absolutely has to happen overnight.
Yeah.
You cannot have live, multi-lane traffic driving underneath heavy machinery, moving multi-ton bridge girders through the air.
Yeah.
The risk is just way too high.
But even with it happening overnight, imagine you are the listener right now, driving up for a weekend getaway. You hit exit 244, and suddenly you're shoved from a multi-lane interstate highway into, like, a single-lane detour.
Yeah, it's
They'll
rare.
literally have to exit the highway entirely, detour through Hidden Valley at exit 243, jump onto a local road, I think it's County Road 314, and then snake your way along until you finally re-enter I-70 at exit 241 in Idaho Springs.
It's a huge disruption.
They're going from highway speed to just a crawling bottleneck in the dead of night.
And that creates immense friction for the region's tourism lifeline. When accessibility drops, local revenue drops. It's just a direct correlation.
Well, if you think navigating a single-lane mountain detour is the ultimate bottleneck, the actual bottleneck threatening this town's survival isn't even made of concrete. It's geopolitical.
Right. Let's look at the sky.
Exactly, the jet fuel crisis.
This is where the macro heavily impacts the micro.
Yeah, because we are looking at a massive disruption driven purely by the closure of the Strait of Hormuz.
Just reporting the numbers here, but they are wild.
I want to look at the sheer scale of the numbers in our economic sources because they are staggering. The Argus U.S. Jet Fuel Index has spiked to $4.26 per gallon.
Wow.
And retail jet fuel. That has hit a decade high of $7.85 per gallon.
Just to ground this for me, what exactly is the Argus Index? And I mean, how does a shipping lane closure on the other side of the planet spike fuel in Colorado?
Okay, so the Argus U.S. Jet Fuel Index is essentially the benchmark pricing metric. Think of it like a stock market ticker, specifically for the wholesale price of aviation fuel.
When a critical global shipping choke point like the Strait of Hormuz is closed, millions of barrels of crude oil are just suddenly trapped. The global supply shrinks instantly.
Right, supply and demand.
Exactly. And because aviation fuel is highly refined and highly specialized, it reacts to crude oil shortages violently.
And the commercial carriers are just bleeding capital because of it. According to the aviation bulletins we have here, United Airlines alone is currently facing $11 billion in unforeseen annual expenses.
$11 billion.
Just purely because of this fuel spike. So how are they compensating for that?
Well, the sources are projecting 20% fare hikes and increased baggage fees across the board.
Which brings us right back to the friction of travel. I mean, if it's a nightmare to drive on I-70 because of the bridge detour and it suddenly costs 20% more to fly, won't that eventually choke off the valley's economy entirely?
You'd think so. Fewer people coming to the mountains, right?
Right. How much will people pay for a mountain getaway? But wait, looking at the updates from the Eagle County Regional Airport, or EGE, they actually seem to be holding steady, despite this whole global aviation nightmare.
They are.
And they're doing it through what looks like a really massive state-level intervention.
Yes, the Aeronautical Board.
Yeah, the Colorado Aeronautical Board just approved a $921,315 grant for a new aircraft rescue firefighting vehicle at the airport. So nearly $1 million for a fire truck. Why?
Well, because that nearly $1 million vehicle is an insurance policy for the entire region's economy. Commercial airlines don't just land anywhere,
They need specific safety ratings.
Exactly. They require specific rescue ratings from the FAA to operate, especially in a high-altitude, really complex mountain environment like Eagle County.
Right.
If EGE's current rescue vehicles age out or fail, the airport loses its safety rating. And if it loses its rating, the commercial jets legally cannot land there, period.
Oh, wow. So by securing that single vehicle, EGE protects its safety rating, which in turn protects the airport's overall economic impact.
Which is massive.
The sources note that impact is a staggering $68.9 billion for the state.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it perfectly illustrates the vulnerability of these communities.
How so?
A geopolitical shipping conflict thousands of miles away instantly threatens the fuel supply, while simultaneously, a single $1 million piece of local safety equipment is holding up a $68.9 billion economic engine.
That is a very fragile equilibrium.
Very fragile.
I have to push back a little on the tourism reliance, though.
Okay, lay it on me.
Let's say people still pay the 20% fare hikes. Let's say they endure the I-70 detours through Idaho Springs. You can get all the tourists you want into the Eagle River Valley. But if the local environment is fundamentally degraded once they arrive, the whole product is ruined. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Which shifts us from the logistics of reaching the valley to the harsh environmental reality of living in it right now.
You're talking about the hydrological deficit.
Yeah, the drought.
Yes. The region is currently suffering through a historic drought. The snowpack it didn't deliver this year. And reading the municipal updates from the town of Minturn, they are currently operating under a Stage 3 water shortage emergency.
And just to clarify, a Stage 3 emergency is severe.
It's not just a suggestion.
No, this isn't just a friendly reminder to stop watering your lawn on Tuesdays. This is a fundamental infrastructure crisis where the actual volume of water available is so low that it threatens basic sanitation.
And fire hydrants, right?
Exactly. The physical water pressure needed for fire hydrants drops dangerously low.
And the financial impact on the local residents from this is steep. To build a desperately needed new water treatment plant and a storage tank, Minturn residents are going to see a massive $45 monthly increase in their debt service fee.
Starting June 1st.
Right. That brings their total base fee to $62.37 a month. And that is just to service the debt on the infrastructure before they even turn on the tap and use a single drop of water.
But the town is also trying to mitigate usage through technology, which is an interesting pivot.
Yeah, the smart water software.
Right. They are seeking $43,000 to implement this system. It would allow residents to monitor their water usage online in real time.
Okay, wait. I have to stop you there because I caught the math on this while reading the municipal updates, and it kind of broke my brain.
The user numbers.
Yes. The sources explicitly state there are only 67 registered residents currently using this system in Minturn. Do the math on that. $43,000 for 67 people. That is over $640 per person. just for a monitoring app.
It does sound like a lot.
Is that actually practical? How on earth is a town in a severe economic squeeze justifying spending that kind of money on software?
What's fascinating here is it sounds completely exorbitant until you realize what happens if they run out of water entirely. Think of this app not as a billing tool, but as a digital tourniquet.
A digital tourniquet. Okay, tell me more about that.
When your town is literally bleeding its most precious resource, you cannot manage what you cannot measure. Without real-time data, an underground pipe could break, right?
Sure.
Or a resident could leave for a month with a running toilet, and it might drain tens of thousands of gallons of fully treated, purified drinking water straight into the ground before anyone notices on next month's physical meter read.
Oh, I see.
So by spending that $640 per user to find the leak immediately, it is infinitely cheaper than trying to truck in emergency water supplies when the town reservoir goes completely dry.
Okay, that makes absolute sense. Preventing the waste of the resource you already have is cheaper than buying new resource.
Exactly.
But the water scarcity isn't just a plumbing issue for the residents. It's a massive ecological and economic threat to the broader region.
Precisely. The environmental assessments show the predicted stream flows for this summer are sitting below 50% of their historical median.
Less than half the normal water flowing down the rivers.
Yes. And for Eagle County's billion-dollar angling and fly fishing industry, that kind of deficit is basically catastrophic.
Why? I mean, I know fish obviously need water, but if there's still a stream, why does a 50% drop wipe out the whole industry?
It comes down to thermal stress. When water volumes drop that significantly, the rivers run much shallower.
And shallow water heats up faster.
Much, much faster under the summer sun than deep water. And warmer water holds significantly less dissolved oxygen. So when the water temperatures spike, the trout effectively start suffocating.
Oh, wow.
It becomes incredibly hard to keep the fish alive. And if the rivers get too warm, the state mandates mandatory fishing closures just to protect the trout populations.
Meaning nobody can fish.
Right. The guides can't take clients out, the gear shops don't sell equipment, and that whole revenue stream simply vanishes overnight.
Wow. So you have a community where the government is scrambling to implement high-tech software and build multi-million-dollar treatment tanks just to keep the taps flowing. But what I find truly remarkable in these sources is that the locals aren't just sitting around waiting for the state to fix everything. They are out there taking matters into their own hands, literally picking up the pieces.
You're referring to the 26th Annual Community Pride Highway Cleanup?
I am. This took place the first weekend of May, and roughly 700 volunteers from the community showed up to manually clean Interstate 70 and Highway 6.
That's a huge turnout.
700 people, giving up their weekend to walk alongside a highway.
That level of civic engagement is remarkable. But the yield from that effort is what's truly staggering. Those 700 volunteers removed an estimated 15 tons of litter and debris from the roadways.
Wait, hold on. Let's just visualize that for a second. 15 tons. From one weekend of picking up trash on a highway. That is like pulling the weight of a few adult elephants in pure garbage out of the roadside ditches.
It's a massive amount.
How does a relatively small mountain community even generate that much debris?
Well, it's important to remember that I-70 is a major interstate freight corridor. A lot of that 15 tons isn't just fast food wrappers thrown out of windows.
What else is it?
It's blown tire treads from semi-trucks, degraded plastics, shredded tarp materials, and industrial debris that accumulates over months of winter driving and snowplow operations. It builds up under the snowbanks over the entire winter.
And the timing of this cleanup is crucial, isn't it? Because the sources mentioned they do this right before the spring runoff.
Exactly. That is the critical mechanism here. If that 15 tons of debris sits in the highway ditches while the mountain snow melts, all of those microplastics, the toxic tire chemicals, the trash, it's all carried by the runoff directly into the Eagle River.
Oh, man.
And the Eagle River isn't just a local amenity where people fish. It feeds directly into the Colorado River system.
Which supplies water to the entire American Southwest.
Right. Roughly 40 million people downstream rely on that water. So you have 700 locals walking along a highway in Vail, physically picking up trash, and their actions directly impact the water quality flowing out of taps in Nevada and California.
It really is the ultimate think globally, act locally scenario. And it proves that despite all these macro stressors, the global jet fuel crisis causing 20% fare hikes, the historic water shortages shutting down rivers, the massive overnight road closures, this community is incredibly resilient.
They really are.
They aren't just surviving, they are highly active. Which brings us to the sheer physical endurance of the people living there.
Oh, the athletic calendar in the Eagle River Valley is relentless.
Relentless is the perfect word. Just look at the Vail Trail Running Series. It kicks off on May 16th in the town of Eagle with an event called the Boneyard Biggie.
Right, name.
Right. You have a 14K and a 6K option. But I want to look at the specs on that 14K race for a moment.
Okay.
It features a grueling 1,279-foot elevation gain, and the runners reach a maximum elevation of 7,718 feet above sea level.
That's intense.
So I have to ask you listening right now. Imagine lacing up your shoes and running up 1,200 vertical feet at almost 8,000 feet of elevation. Is this actual fun? Or is this just localized torture for overachievers?
Well, in mountain towns, those two concepts are often synonymous. People move there specifically for that kind of physical punishment.
Fair enough.
But from a municipal perspective, these events serve a very specific structural purpose beyond just physical fitness.
How so? It's just a foot race.
We have to look at the calendar. It is early May. The ski resorts are officially closed for the winter, but the high alpine hiking and mountain biking trails are either still buried in deep snow or they are way too muddy to use without destroying them.
Ah, right.
In the industry, this is known as shoulder season or simply mud season.
It's the awkward transition phase.
Historically, mountain economies completely stall out right now. The tourists are gone, restaurants empty out, retail sales plummet, and hourly workers really struggle to get shifts.
So the race brings people in.
Exactly. So an event like the Boneyard Boogie isn't just a race. It is a manufactured economic driver. It brings hundreds of local racers, their families, and spectators down into the town of Eagle for a weekend.
Filling coffee shops, buying lunches.
Patronizing businesses at a time when cash flow is desperately needed.
That is brilliant. It's an artificial injection of economic activity right when the natural tourism cycle flatlines.
Right.
And we see that exact same strategy continuing right through the weekend with Mother's Day on Sunday, May 10th. The regional hospitality sector is stepping up big time, tailoring their events not really for tourists, but to get locals out of their houses and spending money.
The offerings in the bulletins are definitely targeted at keeping the local currency circulating within the valley.
You've got the Sun Alp Hotel hosting a massive brunch buffet, complete with a raw bar and specialized cocktails.
Sounds amazing.
And for something a little more interactive, the Alpine Art Center is hosting a Mother's Day Cupcakes and Canvas event. So what does this all mean for you? Imagine you are a resident there. After navigating those awful I-70 overnight detour traffic jams on your commute, and after stressing out over your Minturn Stage 3 water bill, jumping to over $62 a month, you and your mother definitely deserve that Sun Alp raw bar.
Honestly, yeah. It sounds luxurious, but it is a vital economic stabilizer.
Right.
By choosing to spend money at the Sun Alp or taking a painting class at the Alpine Art Center during Mother's Day, locals are effectively keeping their neighbors employed during the slowest, hardest weeks of the year. It's a closed-loop economy of community support.
And that really brings us full circle to the core theme we discovered in these sources today. We set out to explore the reality of modern mountain living, and it truly is the ultimate paradox.
It absolutely is. You have a population that is hyper-vulnerable to global events.
Right. A shipping conflict in the Strait of Hormuz, on the literal opposite side of the planet, directly dictates your local airfare and your retail gas prices.
Yeah.
A shifting macroclimate pattern dries up your local rivers, threatens the trout you rely on for tourism, and forces your municipal water bill through the roof to pay for new treatment tanks.
But at the exact same time, you are deeply physically tied to your local dirt. You are out there with 700 of your neighbors, physically bending over to pick up 15 tons of shredded truck tires and plastic wrappers just to save your specific stretch of river from microplastics.
Yeah.
You are running 14 kilometers up a steep mountain trail just to buy a cup of coffee and support a local business during the mud season.
It is a community that is simultaneously at the absolute mercy of the globe and yet entirely dependent on its own grassroots grit. Which leaves us with a pretty heavy question for you to ponder.
And it's a question that goes far beyond just Colorado.
Exactly. In a future where these global environmental and economic pressures are only going to intensify, where massive supply chain shocks, fuel spikes, and historic droughts become the everyday norm rather than the exception, will that fierce local grassroots resilience be enough to keep these mountain communities thriving?
Or will the sheer practical cost of living in paradise simply become too high?
It's a question of whether local community spirit can outlast the physics of macroeconomics. Just like trying to assemble a massive segmental concrete bridge in midair while the traffic is flying underneath. We will have to see if the structure holds. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive. Until next time, keep questioning the world around you.